I got the wood. Hello, hey, hi, social media family, and of any subscribers to that being of my own social media channel, and likewise as well, all the same, being of any what you call visitors to that being of the same of the said in question, and of the forum periods of prior mention, and that is including to that of my chat room or comment section. How are you all doing? Or hopefully everyone is doing at least okay, if not better, what to be said. To be feeling alright, if not best of all, to be said. To be feeling blessed and stressed, more blessed and stressed, or too blessed to possibly be stressed. You and yours, your family and friends, and hopefully me and mine, likewise, as well, all the same. And please do excuse, pardon, forgive me if I butcher the English language as we have it, of American dialect. Then I had never claimed to have become or be an English major, neither nor an English professor. You know. Anyway, though, moving right along, whereas I kiss some cousins across the great waters of the Atlantic, being of the Brits, as the British or English would say, you know, for that the motherland or mother country that had given birth to that being of our own nation of a supposed or so-called democratic republic or a democracy that is similar to it being of some as such. You know, as you all see or have noticed, I myself have paid just another visit to another medical facility of an establishment for its principal property, regardless of whether it is public or private for its atmosphere, being of a local vicinity area neighborhood community hospital. And whereas more than likely, more often than not, well, that all depends. I may have to do follow up at one of its auxiliary medical clinics, depending on what is the nature of my present physical ailment, you know, or depending on whether it is serious enough to be requiring that I were to do just that, you know, to make sure that I myself or that my person am recuperating, rehabilitating from some such physical trauma, then which could possibly also affect me in the sense where it could cause my person to become subject to experiencing mental anguish. Likewise, we're all the same. You know. I mean, I wasn't looking forward to this for the weekend, but it just so happened, you know, that I've had to pay a visit to just another medical facility of a hospital for something like the umpteenth consecutive time, you know, whereas lately or most recently, that is exactly what I have been doing, you know, unfortunately. And I'm wondering if I have had to pay visits to different hospitals in times past when I was drinking and drugging, you know, whereas now I am a recovering chronic alcoholic. And likewise, I am a recovering habitual chronic marijuana drug addict or reefer junkie, you know. But then if I could make it to that being what you call one of these self-help recovery program meetings for AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, then I don't necessarily have to attend any NA, as in Narcotics Anonymous self-help recovery program meetings, you know, as in attend one of my much more regularly attended self-help recovery AA meetings compared to one of my less frequented ones, you know. As a matter of fact, I had to, you know, skip one for today because I had to come here. What name did you call? Oh no, no. Yes, I have had to come here on a short notice. You know, feeling congested, wheezing, coughing, gasping for breath, as I think I had informed you all, you know, in one of my most recent social media broadcasts or videos. Well, if I had not before then, so I do so now, how I suffer from a number of physical medical health issues. And whereas one of them is that of a breathing disorder or breathing problem. And then another one is that of a sleeping disorder, sleeping problem, or whatever I was said, you know. Not that I should be letting out all my personal information, but, you know, well, it's out there now. Anyway, though, ain't no shame in my game. And as well, hopefully, I still don't fear man as much as I fear the God of my own understanding. So I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to do what I have to do, and being in which I had done or did, being which is to pay another visit to a local vicinity area neighborhood community medical facility of a hospital, and whereas these premises and properties is somewhere within the business and school hub of our own metropolitan city, as we have it for the Windy City, you know, as in Chirac or Chicago, Illinois, you know, being the sister city to that other one of a major metropolis being that of the Big Apple, as in New York, New York. You know. But I'm here now. I have to take the bitter with the sweet. I'm just waiting to be seen by a doctor. And hopefully, finally, I have been here for at least a couple few hours now since the time that I had arrived here. This is one of my regularly attended hospitals compared to one of the other ones or one of my less frequented ones. And some would say, wow, you went to this one hospital where it's supposed to have bumped off one of our mayors, one of our historical mayors. I'm not looking at matters from that point of view. I'm just doing what I have to do for whatever hospital I have to go to, whichever one I choose to, as some will say, give a moment of time. And believe me when I say, trust me on this, I have been to a number of different hospitals over time frame period of years, some more than others, some less. The same can be said to a number of medical health clinics being auxiliary institutions or medical establishments to be affiliated or associated with and representing hospitals. I don't know what has come over me because lately, most recently, I have been going to, like, it was more than seem like hospitals back to back. Last week I was at a hospital, then had to do pharmacist follow up at a medical clinic. And I'm wondering if this one neighbor from down hell has somehow engineered some kind of scheme or scam to sabotage my general physical health and all the same be working on my mental health. Because I had informed you all about the neighbors that I have, of the likes, being of whom would be much more commonly called and or commonly known as neighbors from damn hell, being among the dime a dozen public nuisances of problem neighbors. And whereas now I am a resident or tenant of one of the less preferred vicinity area neighborhood communities, being the likes of, like say, or how you say, of a predominantly ethnic minority and more poverty stricken and more crime ridden vicinity area neighborhood community. Hey, there, user with the username of Old Tara. We're getting back to what I was saying. Yeah, compared to where I was at prior to then in one of the more preferred vicinity area neighborhood communities, being of a multiracial and less poverty stricken or less crime ridden but then the neighbor from down hell where I was previously at had flipped the script on me after he managed to convince the management of the building to give me the walking papers that he should have much rather instead have received much rather than instead of me, being that because he did so out of resentment was he retaliated for the many times I called the management upon him and as well had reported him to the police a number of times. And then he decided to get his revenge, and voila. Now I'm living in, well, I don't want to say one of the shitty neighborhoods, because I'm supposed to be trying to get right with God with my vocabulary and so forth. And regardless of how I'm feeling, like sick as a dog, as in up on the weather in that sense. Speaking of dogs, I just seen a guy walk his dog just past the hospital just now. A few of them at that. But I'm in one of the more lousier neighborhoods, to put like that, to rephrase that. Sorry about that for the cuss words. But anyway, though, so you all get a general idea of what I'm feeling like as of the present given moment in time. I mean, I feel like dog meat or dog do. Worse yet, I mean, like somebody stepped on me. Like I had become one big joke for the bottom of somebody's shoe. I feel just so laid out. I had to force myself to come to the hospital. That's just how bad I was feeling. I mean, I'm wheezing and coughing, gasping for breath, like some kind of 90 some or 100 some year old man. So by the time I be seen by a doctor and leave this hospital as in be discharged, I'm going to have to really watch my back that much more now, being because it's no longer daylight hour, but it's the evening hours now. It's no longer daylight hours. Well, whatever I said. Excuse partner, forgive me for butchering the English language, American dialect. Once again, for something like the umpteen consecutive time, but then you all get the general idea of what I'm trying to say. No, no, I'm not in the best of moods at the moment. I'm trying to express myself as best I can, regardless of how I feel as the present moment in time. I know I don't feel like the sexiest man alive, as he's supposed to have been labeled, on these magazines I found in the hospital. I may read it later as well. Take it with me. Whether like I read it in the hospital room, once they would have finally called me, and once they would have finally have a room for me, it just really sucks. But it is what it is. You gotta just take the bitter with the sweet. Or as they say, when you have lemons, make lemonade or lemon pie or lemon cake for that matter. You know, it could be worse. At least I made it to the hospital. That's the important thing. I made it to some hospital. This is probably one of the better hospitals. Just waiting to be seen by a doctor. I would like some penicillin, some kind of a sort of type of antibiotics that seem to have done the trick last. I think, as I suspect that, or believe that part of the reason why I'm feeling like I am, or whatever I said is, I suspect that this one neighbor from damn hell could have possibly sabotaged some of my food item products in my fridge, so far as leftovers is concerned, as I'm living in one of the worst of neighborhoods, as a resident or tenant paying annual monthly rent, utilities, and you know, where I'm having to watch my back that much more. I mean, whereas the neighbors from damn hell I have now, they are worse yet than the neighbors from damn hell that I had in one of the better neighborhoods, one of the better vicinity neighborhood communities. And that these neighbors from damn hell, they're more creepy, or they're creepier, and that is most certainly, definitely a problem. But other than that, I'm just biding my time until I can get out of there. I had to consider that being one of my last alternative options, much rather than instead risk the chance of possibly becoming or being homeless again. I mean, if it had not been for the white real estate owners or landlords playing games like footsies up on the table, hold me hostage over the phone line, as well as send me on a wild goose chase looking for, I suppose, a so-called available apartment vacancy here and there, at whatever building address locations. I wouldn't have had to accept that being one of my least and last alternative options, being of which is to move into one of the less preferred vicinity neighborhood communities. But I was like saying to myself from there, thinking in my head, better that than to become of the homeless racial statistical percentiles or the homeless percentages of dickheads or fricks. Oh, there I go again. Sorry about that. Cussing, swearing like a drunken sailor once again. Then become one of the homeless doggy do or doggy poo once again. God forbid. At least I rephrase some such thing. Yeah, so it's all good. If you look at it from one point of view, it's not another. I mean, whereas the upside to that argument is that I'm not homeless, but then the downside of that argument is that I lived in a worse neighborhood, you know. Yeah. But it is what it is. Like I said before, so I say again, you gotta take the bitter with the sweet. When you have lemons, make lemonade. Lemon pie or lemon cake for that matter. Yeah. I just wish I had been able to get an apartment where I would have not just a front door, but a back door that could serve as, that being what you call, you know, entrance and exit. Where I'm at now, although I got bars on my windows for the ground floor level that I'm on, but whereas that's the upside, but the downside to that is, like, say, suppose the building catch on fire, and I only have one entrance and exit way. See, well, at least I'm not out there in the cold during the wintertime freezing my butt off. I was about to say A double S, but I had to rephrase that as well. I freeze my butt off, during the cold wintertime. Neither nor could I possibly be burning up in the hot summertime for another season. If I continue to play my cards right, be on my P's and Q's, cross those I's, dot those T's, I ain't got to worry about that. And just try to save up money so I could try to save up to get residency in one of the much more preferred vicinity neighborhood communities once again, you know, because at one time or another I was staying further up north. And then I was staying, in a vicinity area neighborhood community likewise, you know, that was one of the more preferred vicinity area neighborhood communities, like the downtown vicinity area neighborhood community before I had to move to where I'm at now in one of the less preferred vicinity area neighborhood communities. But, you know, I can't really complain. I mean, there are some such homeless persons that would not just like, but would love to be where I'm at, just to be out of the cold during the wintertime and out of the heat during the summertime. I mean, can you feel me? You know how that is. Yeah. So, anyway, though, I just thought that I should share with you all how I had to, sacrifice the time that I could have spent at a self help recovery program meeting for AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, to get here. I had to get here much sooner. I mean, I could have thought to go there first and then come here, but then that would just make the time frame period for me to wait to see a doctor much longer. And then the time I would be, discharged as in permitted to leave the hospital would be much later on the night as well, when the street critters or street animals would come out that much more, than how you could see enough of them during the daylight hours on some stick and move, snatch and run tip, or scamps and vamps scoping you at a distance and then attempting to close the gap so they could come in for a kill. And I'm no stranger to having been jacked on foot, in times past, at least a couple few times. One of those times, years ago, I got robbed blind, because back then I was heavily drinking and drugging. And I violated my golden rule, being of which is to pay my annual monthly rent and utilities, home phone service fee bills, and cell home phone service fee and the home phone and cell phone service fee bills, what I mean to say. Excuse, pardon, forgive me for butchering the English language, American dialect, and etc. But that one time I decided to get me one, and that's when they got me. I mean, a couple, few of them, speaking upon these matters now that come to mind, or two or three of them. I mean, two out of three, a couple out of a few, or two out of three I knew. The third one is what I mean to say, all the same. I know him from Tom, Dick, and Harry to Who Shot John. And, whereas one was on the left of me and one was on the right of me, and there was one in back of me, because there was three of them, right? And the one in back of me was holding my mouth, whereas I couldn't yell up, because I was like pretty much so close to a train elevator station, I couldn't yell up at any, attendant, because my mouth was covered, and whereas the other two were going through my pockets, and then the one in back of me was like saying, "Do y'all have it now? Got it?" And they said, "Yeah, we got it." And then he was like saying, "Okay, now let's pull up. We out," you know. And all I got out of the deal was like a Walkman as well as, a 40 ounce and a pack of squares. And they took most of my money after I had cashed my check and I couldn't pay my rent that day. And I go back to the building where I stayed at back then, back in the day, and the landlord like saying, "Where's my rent money? I know you usually have my rent money. So what's up?" Because you can see something different. You see there's a different than a glow about me because where I can be like, "I just got paid," and be a millionaire for a day, as any of us would be on a limited fixed income. Then I told him, "Well, I got robbed." He said, "What?" He said, "Get out of here." Seriously though? I said, "Yes, seriously." He said, "Well, that's not my problem." He said, "I'm going to give you from 24 to 72 hours to get my rent money. If you don't come up with it, you got a book. Because unless you some kind of handyman that can do maintenance in the building for me, then you got to go." So for a whole month, then and there, I was homeless. But then I went back there for a little while the next month, and then I pulled up from camp and got on elsewhere. Then I was like saying, "Never again. I'm not going to sleep that one again." And I like saying, "I'm not going to violate my golden rule, which is to pay annual monthly rent like I did that one time." I was saying, all right, from now on, it's going to be first and foremost, take care of the business at hand. Be I sober, drunk, high, or whatever. And that's what I would usually think to do now. I mean, imagine that. They took hundreds of dollars off of me, didn't leave me with a plug nickel. And I looked like something that the cat dragged in. I had to seek, some such shelter wherever I could get it, and that's including at a rescue mission men's shelter, as well as I tried to see if any family members and friends of mine and friends of my brothers could let me stay with them, for little or nothing. But nobody helped me out. Nobody was having it. Imagine that. My own flesh and blood wouldn't let me stay with them. I was literally actually out of doors as a homeless person, looking like not just something that the cat dragged in, but something that the cat dragged in. That's all back in the past. Here it is, though. Now I have a place once again, but yet I'm feeling sick as a dog, whereas I may as well once again be looking like something that the cat dragged in, not something that just the cat dragged in, but the cat dragged in, if you know what I mean. So far as health wise, I'm feeling like you said, like from a 90 something to a 100 something year old man. Could you help me across the street, young man? Boy Scout. It's not dark as yet, is it out here? I gotta get back to my place of residence before the gym shoe boys be on the prowl. Oh, that is ridiculous. But anyway, I'm about to close shop. As you all know, I will open up with the basic intro as an introduction. Then I will speak upon a subject matter or a topic of discussion to be debated or give an argument with the many different views and opinions there are to be affiliated, associated with, and representing some as such or the same as said in question of the form pre-prior mentioned. Then last but not least, I would try to share the gospel message of our Lord and Savior Christ, the Messiah, deliver the Rabbi of rabbis, the King of kings, the Lord of lords, the Prince of peace with you all. You know, regardless whether I had to force myself to say it, unless it would have come naturally for me to say something such. And this is not one of the times. But so I would have to go through the motions, sharing with you all that being the same by saying, or paraphrase, not quite exactly, and that is, if you have not gotten Christ as your personal Lord and Savior, I would hope that you would think to do so now while the blood is still running warm in your veins by recognizing and realizing what He Himself had done and did upon the cross of Calvary on the hill of Golgotha, suffering at the hands of some Roman soldiers upon the orders of their superiors, militaristic, political, religious, and or otherwise, from centurions to Caesars to Pharisees and Sadducees, but then nevertheless, as He went to that cross of Calvary, to become the perfect sacrifice, the only sacrifice for you as well as for me. I'm going to have to copyright this physical trademark gesture before you all plagiarize it. I'm going to do that sometime. Whereas anyone or anybody, regardless of race or whatever walk of life, or the old, young, like either, both the two sexual genders, representing not only the human species but the global community within this post 911 era of a new millennium or this apocalyptic day and age where the doomsday clock is now at a few minutes to midnight compared on how formerly prior to it was a quarter to midnight for these biblically prophetic times, where to profess some of such faith in and from there we become and be blessed in one regard or another, more ways than one. First and foremost for this salvation, being which is the only means by which any of us can or could possibly become citizens of the kingdom of heaven. And second of all, with His deliverance. But first, you have got to get His salvation. Otherwise, you have got nothing coming so far as blessings is concerned. And if you leave this world without that fire insurance against the lake of fire, damn hell that burns with fire, brimstone, sulfuric acid, you make that transition for the great beyond hereafter without it, then your final destination would be the lake of fire, to burn forever, to be assembled with the rest of the lost, damned, unsaved human souls, to be tortured and terrorized by the devil and his demons forever, compared to how we as believers in God, as in Christians, aka Protestants, not Catholics, not supposed to so-called Jehovah's Witnesses, not supposed to so-called Latter-day Saints or any other heathens or pagans of churchianity rather than Christianity. But then the majority of most churchgoers or whatever religious denominations are nothing but of the worst of two evils, and likewise of the worst of the closet devil worshippers. And that is including the prosperity preacher televangelists with their mega churches fleecing the flock. But then, as I was saying, as a backtrack here, the reason or purpose of being, or else I can go into Parliament to continue for where and when that my person has last left off, so I can finish up as a complete a form period prior to thought in the saints in the world. Whereas, we as believers in God, as a Christian, aka Protestants, on the other hand, will be across that great divide that separates heaven from hell in a company of like-minded believers. And as in Christians, aka Protestant, and in the presence of God and His angels, otherwise for all eternity. And even so, we will be blessed down here upon the planet Earth or in this world. But first, we have got to get His salvation. Otherwise, it's a done deal. It's not BK or Burger King. You cannot wait until you get onto the opposite side of this existence and then decide from there that you want to accept Christ as your personal Lord and Savior. Because it don't work like that. You can fool yourself if you want to. And I don't care what Oprah Winfrey say or anybody else like her, because all roads do not lead to heaven. All roads may lead to Rome, Italy, Vatican City, the papacy in this world, from whatever country or nation, but it don't lead to the kingdom of heaven in the next world. You can go out like that if you think you want to. Hopefully not, and you'll have a rude awakening. You'll wake up with your eyes looking at the fires of hell and the devil and the demons biting and clawing. Okay, unless you were to become subjected to experiencing one of those beyond and back experiences. I'm saying one of those beyond and back experiences of the few. Compared to how the majority of most, when they go to damn hell, they're there to stay. Then that's where your final destination would be. And I mean, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. Well, then again, I literally actually would if I weren't thinking from a godly point of view. But if I were thinking from some of such other vice versa, as a believer in God, as a Christian, then I wouldn't. As I said, I wouldn't work, as I said and stated for the record, I wouldn't wish that kind of predicament on my worst enemy. Because God is not to be mocked. What you sow is what you shall reap. If you deny Christ's offer of salvation that will prevent you from burning in damn hell, then that's on you, nobody else, because you would have all the time in the world. You would have a lifetime. Well, then again, not necessarily, because the way people or persons are dropping off like flies nowadays, and more the younger than the older generation. So choose now. Choose life, not death. Choose God's salvation, not the devil's destruction or devastation. And because the life you save may be, you know what I'm saying? You all take care and be safe. Be blessed, not stressed. If and when you can or could possibly accept Christ as your personal Lord and Savior. And I'll let you later. We out. Peace.